Hi everybody, Allison here with Scrap and Stamp. Today we're going to be making this sweet little slimline card featuring some Woodware Craft mini gnomes. We're going to start today's card with a Distress Oxides. These are nice and creamy inks which blend very well and make great backgrounds. If you're looking for something that's water reactive, Distress Oxides are the perfect ink. This is cracked pistachio, and we're going to blend it almost all the way in towards the center of our panel. Our panel measures 3.5 by 8.5 inches. We're just going to soften the inside here. Notice there is a little bit of white cardstock in the center. We're going to take our darker ink, this is peacock feathers, and we're just going to mix that in on the edges, nice and soft, making sure to leave some of that cracked pistachio ink showing. So you have kind of a bluey green blended into that light green of the cracked pistachio. We're going to take our water distress sprayer and we're going to spritz this background a few times. And if you depress the button about halfway for the spritz, you get nice blobbies, which is what I was looking for. So we're just going to pull off the extra ink there with some paper towel, and we're going to continue on with our background. We're going to go back to our cracked pistachio ink again, and I'm going to concentrate my ink towards the center of the card. So if you notice, I'm only touching hearts towards the center of the card, where the white space is and where a little bit of the cracked pistachio ink is. Now, before removing the stencil, I'm going to go around the edges and I'm going to ink up with the darker ink here around the heart around the edges. So this is going to make it look almost tone on tone. We're going to move our stencil down to fit the rest of our card front there. I'm going to go in again down the center with the cracked pistachio. I overlapped the ink, and that's what I was kind of rubbing off there. We're going to go down the sides with the darker peacock feathers ink and down the hearts on the end of that panel, just making sure we got enough ink through that stencil so that the tone on tone actually shows up. There we go. You notice that tone on tone works pretty good there. We're just blending in that harsh line. I didn't really want that there, and I should have masked it off, but that's okay. Just adding a little touch of that cracked pistachio just to blend it out, and I wasn't happy there wasn't enough hearts on the ends of the panels, so we're going back in with that peacock feathers and putting a few more hearts off the edges there. All right, let's work on our little gnomes. So the gnomes stamp set is called Mini Gnomes, most appropriate. And we are going to put 5 of the 6 little critters on just a white piece of cardstock. And I am going to be coloring these with Copic markers. So I am going to grab a Copic Safe ink. And in this case, I'm going to be using Memento Tuxedo Black. We're just making sure that they all fit on there. There we go. All 5 are inside the mini Misty there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there is a 6th little fella, but we're just going to do 5 today. We're going to use our Memento Tuxedo Black, making sure we have a good amount of ink on our stamps. Closing the lid, giving it a quick press. And the beauty of the Misty is if it's not quite perfect or it's not quite dark enough, just add more ink, close that lid, and you're done. So our second impression made those images nice and crisp. So now we can color. So I'm just going to show you one little baby, but all of them have been colored in the same manner as this little fella. So I'm starting with an R24, an R24, and I'm going to color in kind of where I might have some darker areas on his hat. We're going to blend that out with our medium tone and R22 in this case. So I'm just touching the previous dark color and blending it out towards the white space. And then we're going to do one more color. We're going to do an R21, and that's going to be used on any of the white space left on his little hat there. So all of the red/pink areas for the gnomes were done in that combination. We're going to do a little bit of skin tone with an R11, and then we're going to blend that out with an E21. Sorry, an E11 and an E21. There we go. Very, very subtle skin color this time. Again, we're going to go back and do his clothing with the same red to pink color combo. R24, R22, and in this case I didn't even bother with that last and final R21 because there wasn't a lot of room left. There we go, his clothing is done. Let's do his beard. We're going to use the tonal grays or the T series of grays. This is a T3. And I'm just trying to make it look like he's got some texture to his beard. So I'm actually spotty dotting it a little bit along that edge where there would be a little bit of shadow. Then we're just going to blend it out with a T1. Very, very simple. And when you add that T1, it helps soften and blend out that darker T3. There we go. Very, very easy. Nothing super special or hard about this technique. Just go over top of it and it blends. We're going to use some minty greens to match our background here. This is a BG11. Sorry, there's no cap. Putting a BG11 base coat for that little heart in his shoes. We're going to go in with the BG23. Just add a little bit more deep color to those two little areas, shoes and heart. And then our final BG is a BG34, which is kind of a bluey green Copic. And we have a little touch of pink to his nose in R20. And then we're going to add a little bit of shading to hit the brim of his hat and those two patches on his hat. Just with going back into the T1. We're going to do the soles of his shoes quickly. We're going to darken them up with the T3. So those are all the Copic markers that I used for every single gnome. Just makes it easy. Everything is uniform. And here are our 5 little fellas all colored up. Let's put a little sentiment with them. We're going to use the hello from the same mini gnomes stamp set. We're going to put this in the mini Misty. I'm going to slam it right into the bottom. And of course it moved on me. So I'm going to reposition that. And we're going to use the same ink just so that the shade and everything matches. We're going to ink it up a couple of times to make sure we have a nice crisp image. And then we're going to trim it. Because we're going to make this like a little sign for one of the gnomes on the card front. And so we're going to trim it down so it's nice and short. I'm just using my good old Tim Holtz tonic trimmer. Guillotine style. I love this thing. Couldn't live without it. Alright, so I'm just deciding which gnome is going to get the sign. And this guy apparently was the one I chose. A little bit of glue. We're going to glue it right to the gnome image here. Just plain and simple. We are going to cover up his hands, but that's okay. Okay, let's assemble the card. We're just going to choose where each little gnome is going to go. Plain and simple. Okay, we're happy with positioning and everybody's in their spot. Excellent. So now I'm going to bring in the foam dots. Yep. And we're going to go kind of crazy with the foam dots. Because you guys know me. The more adhesive, the better. I over-adhese. There we go. And with our foam dots, we're just going to peel off the backers. And away we go. And gnome number 1 is stuck to the card. There's number 2. I wish I could craft this fast. I tell you. 3. 4. He's got the sentiment. And here's number 5. And there's our finished card. Cards don't have to be super complicated. Just some ink, stencils, and you're all done. Have a great day, guys.